Hey folks, Dustin Whelan here with Rider Magazine, and today we're riding the 2022 Yamaha XSR900. Now, this bike follows in the wake of the recently renewed MT-09 and Tracer 9 GT, and it shares many of the core components of those two bikes, including the 890cc Inline Triple, as well as the new aluminum frame. Now, unlike the MT-09, it has a longer swing arm like the Tracer 9 GT, and that actually gives it a little bit more stability, and it's great when you're really pulling out of the corners. Just gives it that stability that you need when you're in the twisties and everything. Along with that new swing arm, you also have stiffer suspension, both with the front end and also the shock. And really what that does is it's just really been supportive in the canyons that we've been riding today, especially when you're throwing the thing from side to side. It's really quick. The transitions are very seamless and really instantaneous, but also it stays stable when you're on the sidewall. So when you're leaned over and you hit a bump or something, it stays composed. It doesn't really get all crossed up or anything. You're able to continue through the turn and you just pull through. So along with the different suspension and the different swing arm from the MT-09, we also have a brand new Brembo master cylinder. And this is a really good addition to this bike. It gives a lot of bite on initial input. There's tons of stopping power. It is miles above the last iteration that they had on this, which was axial mounted. So this is a really good upgrade. So on the opposite end of these brakes, we have the 890cc Inline Triple. And this is such a usable power unit with 68.6 pound-feet of torque on tap. You can just pull out of corners. It's really tractable, but at the same time, it's a really meaty mid-range. You just get a nice surge at around like 7,000 RPM, and it really just sends you flying through. If you do want to keep it at the more comfortable rate, you want to stay a little bit under 7 RPM. Say you're traveling, if you're on the open highway, you want to keep it a little bit under 7,000 RPM, because around that range there is a little bit of vibration in the seat pan and also from the foot pegs. Handlebars are okay, but at the same time, for maximum comfort, I would keep it under 7,000, but for maximum fun, 7,000 is where that all begins. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, with this 890cc power plant, the major complaint has always been a little bit of a snatchy throttle, and Yamaha has really fixed the majority of that. I would say there's still a little bit of a lurch in the first and second gears, but at the same time, what I did to really get past that was just short shift a lot of the times, and it was easy to get past. It's much better than the past iterations, but there's still just a little bit of refining that they'll probably take care of in the next few generations and everything. On that note, this generation also gets, instead of 3 ride modes, it gets 4 ride modes, and each ride mode is pretty good for what you want to use it for. First and second, there's not that big of a difference, but they are full throttle. They're gonna give you all the power, and it's gonna be a great linear power band, but at the same time, very exhilarating. Whereas the third ride mode kind of pulls back on a lot of that immediate acceleration and gives you something much more tractable. And along those lines, when it comes to the new ride modes, this also gets a big upgrade in technology. There's a 6-axis IMU, which helps with traction control, slide control, brake control, and just a plethora of safety nets for riders. With the new suite that they've given this bike, there's also a new TFT dash, and it's great. You're able to navigate through, really optimize the ride, and also personalize the ride the way that you would want it. The only thing that I've found though is with navigating the new menus, there is a scroll wheel on the right-hand side. There's a mode button and also an up and down button. I would have loved to see that centralized. It's not bad once you get used to it and once you understand how to toggle between the different modes and whatnot, but it would have been great to really just centralize one thing so you can just use one side of the the switchgear for whenever you want to change the settings and whatnot. But with that said, the menu is very easy. It's very simple and very straightforward, so it's really not confusing. You can just navigate through it and change whatever you need. It's really easy and straightforward. When it comes to changing on the fly, you can change both the traction control and the ride mode on the fly. You just have to roll off of the throttle and use the buttons on the left switchgear. There is the mode button that allows you to change between whether it is the ride mode or the traction control, and then there's the up and down buttons which allow you to toggle through all of the different options within those subcategories. So we usually don't comment on styling for most bikes, but I think it's worth noting for this one. There's a big departure from what they've done in the past with the cafe racer style aesthetics. Now they've moved toward an 80s GP style, which really suits the lines of this bike, and it looks great in pictures and it looks even better in person. I really love some of the details that you may not be able to notice, like some of the grille lines up here, some of the little details here, and also just this really cool GP style seat pan. We really like what they're doing with this one, especially at a $9,999 price point. You can read the rest of my thoughts on this bike over at ridermagazine.com, and thank you and ride safe.